From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans, this is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm Vasilios. That is Sean Fazan. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. You can find us wherever you listen or watch your podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that little bell notification button. You get notified whenever we upload a new podcast. Sean Fazan, happy Thursday to you as of recording this right now. How's it going, pal?
It's going good. It's been a good week of Saints training camp, and we're moving into the preseason phase of camp. I always divide it into training camp, then preseason, then regular season, even though there's some practices in between those preseason games. Obviously, I still view it as us out of camp into preseason. So here is where we stand. Like you said, be sure to like, share, rate, review. Leave some comments below. Let us know what you're talking about. Be sure to hit us up on the Final Word feature on the Final Play app if you have any questions for us. We'd love to get to them.
We might get to them this weekend.
We'll see. Speaking of that, I'm out there today. It was all indoors. The majority of the practices in New Orleans are going to be indoors from here on out, at least the ones that we can go to.
Sure.
With the exception of one of the Houston Texans practices, according to Dennis Allen, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And I'm watching practice today, and I alluded to it last night on training camp game plan, and it just was kind of reiterated today. This team's ready for a game. This team is ready for a game. The evaluation needs to move into a new phase. The evaluation of players needs some fresh data. It needs to move on from going up against the same guys every day to someone new, different situation, game-like setting, and just give you a fresh look at what you've been, really dissecting for the last 13, 14 practices. And it's time. And I think you're about to enter a very important stretch. You've gone through the training camp practices, and as I've said, there is a training camp feel, and then there is a little bit of a shift into preseason field. You got your preseason opener where your starters are going to play. Mm-hmm. Then you have joint practices next week, which some will consider that to be more important than the actual second preseason game a week from Sunday. Then more joint practices, then your preseason finale. So this stretch coming up is really going to be important, and it's really going to raise the stakes in terms of the evaluation of what guys can or cannot do when the bright lights come on, or when you're practicing against another opponent and you're in a very detailed situation and you don't know the tendencies of the guy across from you because you haven't been practicing against him every day. So, I'm looking forward to it. It's about that time. I talked to Taysom Hill today, and he said, it's been a really good camp, but I think it's time for the next phase. And I agree. I think it is time for the next phase of getting into the preseason, see where they're at, and move forward.
The training wheels are coming off for the Saints. Mm-hmm. Sean, I wanted to ask you, before the Saints jump on the field on Sunday, what jumps out to you about the depth chart?
I normally don't pay any attention to it, but I couldn't ignore it this time. I really, unofficial depth chart for the preseason opener. I've always felt it was pretty meaningless. But it ain't meaningless this year. It's not meaningless this year. The first thing that jumped out was I start looking down, and I get to left tackle, and I see Trevor Penning, and behind him is not James Hurst. So I believe that competition is done, or that competition never really manifested itself or developed to begin with. And I think Trevor Penning is your starting left tackle. And if he is not, it would be because of, knock on wood, health or poor performance, not because he lost the competition. I think the competition's over. I'm not sure there ever really was one, because of the next thing that I noticed, which is you go to left guard, and it's Hurst or Pete. We thought it was going to be James Hurst versus Trevor Penning. It's been James Hurst versus Andrews Pete the whole time. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, or maybe I have lost track of weeks and days. Maybe last week.
A previous podcast.
Yeah, a previous podcast that this three guys over two positions on the left side has really kind of developed. Well, it sounds like they have their guy in Trevor Penning, based off of comments from Dennis Allen today. certainly sounds like they feel like he has shown growth, and he has. And he's a dominant run blocker. He has had some eye-catching run blocks, but he's getting a little bit better in the passing game. Obviously, he's got to get great at that because he's protecting Derek Carr's blind side. But now the battle is James Hurst versus Andrus Peat, and Pete's out. He's been out for a while with a calf strain. It's probably only been like a week and a half, but it just feels like forever since we've seen him on the field. That's how it is in training camp because every day is such a journey.
Feels like we've been in training camp for a year already.
That's just how it goes. So Hurst has been getting all the reps. It's very possible that your starting offensive line opening day is Penning, Hurst, McCoy, Ruiz, Ramczyk, or it could be Penning, Peat, McCoy, Ruiz, Ramczyk. So that jumped out to me because they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do that. So they penciled Hurst in as left guard or Andrus Peat, which is usually one of those where there's a competition and you don't want to name a starter at this point. But look, they did it at left guard, not at left tackle. The next thing, defensive side of the ball. I go to defensive end opposite Cam Jordan. We know there's a battle going, and there's no and or in the middle of two names. It's one name, and it's Carl Granderson. And this matches everything that I've seen on the field. I've been asked about this a few times. I think both guys have had good camps. I think both guys have risen to the occasion, but the most consistent of Carl Granderson versus Peyton Turner has been Carl Granderson.
Consistent.
You're absolutely right. And Dennis Allen alluded to it today that he's really improved in the run game, and Saints are big on that with their ends. You can't just be if you want to play, you can't just be rush the passer off the edge. You've got to be able to stop the run to get on the field.
DA said he also put on some weight too, right? Yeah.
Came in at 230. He's at 270 now.
Good for him, man.
He had a sack today at practice. Now, in saying that, I think you can make a case this is Peyton Turner's best camp. Not just a good camp, best camp. But another guy has passed him up. The thing about this, though, both these guys are going to get on the field.
Yeah.
Peyton Turner's going to get in situations because right now I think Granderson's more well-rounded, great against the pass and against the run. I think Peyton Turner has a little more explosiveness to his game that helps in certain situations, but I agree with the coaches on this one. I think Granderson right now is legitimately in the lead. And I'm not sure if there's still a competition going or not, but it sounds like Granderson's ahead. And the other big one, obviously, that they use the word "or" on this one. It's Taylor or Adebo. That's been a battle. That's been a great battle. It's exactly what we thought it was going to be. It has been a fantastic battle. Who's in the lead? Earlier in camp, I was thinking about it being Alontae Taylor because he's a little scrappy. He's got a little bit of a different personality out there. But, man, Adebo is just smooth, shows up, makes plays in the right spot. So right now, I got to go with the incumbent, Paulson Adebo. Still a long way to go. And, again, both these guys will get on the field at some point. But I got to go with Adebo. I don't say problem, but the concern or what's the word I'm looking for? Not concern, but what's curious about this is neither one of those guys have trained in other spots. Taylor did earlier in camp and in the offseason, but I have to go back and look. I don't think he's done much inside. That's mostly gone to Bradley Roby. So whoever loses this battle, it's not like they're going to kick inside. I think they're just going to, if someone gets injured or if a poor performance or they go in dime or whatever the case may be, that's when that other player gets on the field.
Is it possible they play it by matchup?
It could be matchup. You're absolutely right. Could be matchup. They've done that in the past. They both got on the field last year because of the injury to Marshawn Lattimore, who has been a dog this camp. That's a compliment, by the way.
Best season incoming.
He has been fantastic. He has been fantastic this camp. So, I like the cornerback spot. I really do. You talk about Adebo, you talk about Taylor, you talk about Marshawn, you talk about Roby, Isaac Yiadom, who no one we've never mentioned his name before the last couple weeks of training camp.
Yeah,
he's done fairly well. So I like where the cornerback position, currently is going forward. So that's really what's jumped out about the about the depth chart is those four areas. Some spots that were very clear with this is guy's first team, this guy's second team, and other spots it was either or. And I thought it was interesting where they chose to make that distinction. So very newsworthy depth chart, if you ask me. So I enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah, you talked about how the Pete and Hurst left guard situation surprised you a little bit. Are there any other pleasant surprises on lucky number 13 day of camp?
This is a good development, a positive development, and it was a concern going in, and I'm feeling better about it now. I told you my biggest concern going into camp was the defensive line. I have seen growth, tremendous growth along the defensive line against a bit of a banged-up Saints offensive line, but it's impossible to ignore every single one of the D tackles that they brought in that we expect to make the roster. Brian Brzee, Colin Saunders, Shepard, and Malcolm Roach.
Is it Colin Saunders?
It is Colin.
Okay.
All make plays and have made plays on a consistent basis, especially in this last stretch here. Brzee, another nice play today. Malcolm Roach had a great tackle for loss. I mean, Saunders had a batted pass. Shepard, the same thing. So I feel like that position, bit of an unknown, it's early, is starting to show that maybe they aren't just at where they were a season ago. They are better, and that could be the difference in a bad run defense and a very good to great run defense. And then obviously I just talked about the development of Granderson and Peyton Turner. So that defensive line to me has been one of the best developments of camp, because I'm not sure, I didn't know where they were before camp started, and now I'm starting to feel a lot better.
I mean, it's hard to feel bad when these guys are all making plays during camp, but we will see for the first time this weekend what that really means.
Yeah, and like I said before, it's time. It's time to really see. And, a concern of mine still is I'm not sure where they're at offensive line-wise. I think healthy is obviously one thing. I'm not sure where they're at in terms of production. How good are they going to be? I do think there's still a little bit of a work in progress between O-line and quarterback. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that is fully developed yet.
Yeah, it takes time.
That takes time. So that's the area I'm really watching as a possible concern. And the best development, I felt like, as I said before, was the defensive line. So all good as we move into the Saints preseason. Should be fun on Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs.
You guys should be excited too. We got Saints football right here only on Fox 8, pregame, halftime, and postgame coverage. Make sure you check that out. Send us as many questions as you all would like. We're going to answer as many as we can get to. But make sure for this podcast, you like, subscribe, rate, and review. You can find us wherever you listen to and watch your podcast. For Sean Fazan, I'm Vasilios. We'll catch you guys on the next one.